Imagine waking up to find that every major decision in your life, your job, your finances, even your healthcare, is being subtly guided by an invisible force. It sounds like a distant sci-fi movie, right? But it's happening today, right now. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the invisible infrastructure that is actively running our lives and literally shaping the course of human history. So, what really happens when AI rules us? First off, we need to completely toss out those Hollywood illusions of killer robots like Skynet or HAL 9000. The real artificial intelligence? It's already here. It quietly decides what we buy, who gets a job interview, and exactly how our modern societies function. It's incredibly efficient, completely invisible, and it is fundamentally transforming the human experience as we know it. Through the powerful analysis in Amy Webb's book, The Big Nine, we discover a pretty startling reality. The future of humanity currently rests in the hands of just 9 specific tech titans. That's right, just 9 massive corporations are currently writing the legacy code that will dictate the rules for all generations to come. To put this into perspective, we've been moving along a wildly rapid evolutionary track. Think about it. We started way back in the 1830s with early concepts of mechanical calculators. Then, we jumped to the 1950s when Alan Turing first asked if machines could actually think. And that brings us right up to our present day, the era of artificial narrow intelligence, where systems do highly specific tasks incredibly well. But we are rapidly accelerating toward artificial superintelligence. And to understand exactly where we're going, we really have to look at who is driving the vehicle. Section 1. Meet the Big Nine. Webb's analysis breaks down a stark global divide in AI development. It's like 2 completely distinct tribes. On one side, we have the US-based companies, which are driven largely by Wall Street demands, consumerism, and the relentless need for quarterly profits. On the other side is China's tech ecosystem. This one is entirely tethered to state development plans, fueled by massive population data and driven by centralized geopolitical goals. So we're looking at 2 totally different foundations building the exact same global future. Let's break down the US side first. Webb playfully calls them the G-MAFIA. We're talking about Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, IBM, and Apple. The reality here is that relentless market expectations absolutely force these companies to prioritize shiny new product announcements over long-term human-centric strategic planning. Because they're constantly pressured to dazzle their investors, sweeping ethical frameworks usually end up taking a backseat to speed and profit. Meanwhile, over in China, Webb identifies the BAT tribe: Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. These 3 massive titans operate under strict alignment with Beijing's geoeconomic strategies. They seamlessly power state initiatives, scooping up voluminous amounts of human data without the sort of privacy restrictions you'd find in the West. According to Webb's data, this is a highly organized, top-down, state-level plan for total AI dominance. Section 2, 1,000 paper cuts. Now, this brings us to a really fascinating concept called Conway's Law. Basically, it dictates that organizations inadvertently design technological systems that perfectly mirror their own internal structures, their biases, and their entrenched values. Because these 2 AI tribes lack a unified humanistic algorithm, Conway's Law ensures they're simply programming their own personal blind spots and corporate incentives directly into our thinking machines. So we aren't likely to face a cinematic apocalypse. Instead, we're already suffering through thousands of invisible, agonizing algorithmic paper cuts. Here's a stark example of how this unintended bias actually plays out. Take the widely used ImageNet dataset. It literally fails to recognize a bride if she's wearing anything beyond a traditional white dress and veil. It entirely ignores the diverse, rich reality of global weddings, like saris, kimonos, or colorful dresses. This is a perfect example of a very specific cultural blind spot being programmed directly into a machine's foundational memory. Section 3. 3 futures of AI. Based on these current developmental tracks, Webb's data models project 3 very plausible 50-year scenarios for our transition from narrow AI to artificial superintelligence. She maps out the optimistic, the pragmatic, and the catastrophic tracks. These distinct trajectories vividly illustrate the immense risks and the opportunities that hinge entirely on the choices you and I make today. First up is the pragmatic scenario, which is characterized by what Webb calls learned helplessness. This is what happens if we only demand minor tweaks to the system. If we just keep blindly hitting accept on terms of service without changing the core structures, we are going to suffer. we'll be forced to live with deeply flawed AI frameworks that constantly nudge, restrict, and dictate our daily lives without us even realizing it. Then, we have the catastrophic scenario. If we completely ignore all the warning signs and just double down on the status quo, Webb projects that power will aggressively concentrate. The US G-MAFIA will likely fracture against unified state backing from China, and a pervasive global apparatus of AI totalitarianism will take root. In this world, massive decisions are made by machines, optimizing for control, not for human flourishing. But look, it's not all doom and gloom. If we act courageously to shift the trajectory right now, we can actually achieve the optimistic scenario, thriving together. We can choose to treat AI as a public good, kind of like breathable air or clean water, that broadly elevates the human condition. We have the potential to close massive economic divides and build a true collaborative partnership with machines. But make no mistake, it requires immediate, massive action. Section 4. The Gaia Solution. So, how do we actually get to that optimistic future? We must implement sweeping, worldwide, systemic changes immediately by establishing something Webb calls Gaia, the Global Alliance on Intelligence Augmentation. Think of it as a highly diverse international body specifically designed to oversee AI development. It would create an entirely new social contract, guarantee basic fundamental human rights, and hold the Big Nine accountable to rigorous transparency and bias auditing standards. Essentially, we desperately need a global referee with real power. Section 5. Your choice in the future. Now, you might be wondering what role you play in all of this. The truth is, the trajectory of AI isn't just up to government officials and tech billionaires. As a consumer and a massive data generator, you are an intrinsic part of its developmental track. You need to take personal responsibility right now. Audit your connected devices. Check your data permissions. Start paying real attention to the invisible systems actively guiding your everyday choices. You have to refuse to just be passive raw material for the machine and actively demand transparency. So, I'll leave you with this. Are you ready to shape the future of AI before it shapes you? Will you remain passively unaware as the machines slowly wake up? Or will you step up and demand a human-centric future before it is simply too late? The code is being written right now, today. Make absolutely sure your values are in it.